Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Carrie, and we'll be getting started here in a few minutes. While we're waiting for everyone to come on board, why don't we give away a couple of prizes? Comment in the chat where you're watching from today, and we are going to select a couple of winners. Let's see who we've got. Let's see. We have got Jennifer Camp from York, South Carolina. Jennifer, you are going to be receiving our very first video today, which is Cindy Barron's Elegant Landscapes video. And then our next video is going to be Cornelia Herney's. This is from PaintTube TV. This is her new video, Elegant Portraits. And Martha Garner from Lafayette, Louisiana. Congratulations, Martha. You are the winner of Cornelia's new Elegant Portraits video. If I call your name, please type here in the chat and send me an email so we can get you access to your videos. You can see that email on the screen. It's kstober@streamlinepublishing.com. So shoot me an email, Martha Garner and Jennifer Camp, so we can get you access to your videos. We are here today for our webinar, obviously. We are going to get started in just a moment. A little housekeeping note, if you experience any technical issues today during the webinar, please refresh your browsers. That usually will fix things 99% of the time. If that doesn't work, try a new browser. If it still doesn't work, throw your computer out the window and get a new one. Just kidding, don't do that. But if you do have any other issues, don't worry, we will have a replay that we'll send later today, so you'll find that in your email. We will also be giving away some more prizes throughout the day, so be sure that you're in the chat commenting because you do need to be present to win any of our prizes. And then welcome. Here's your official welcome to the Women in Art Roundtable, where we will be discussing the topic, how to find your authentic voice and grow your art career. We opened up the option to submit questions in advance and received an overwhelming questions, 208 to be exact, and I was shocked by how many questions we got. So unfortunately, because of that, we can't answer all of them today. We did try to compile them all into segments and summarize those topics, so that's what we are going to talk about today. So hopefully most of them get answered. If you do think of a question during the webinar, go ahead and drop it in the chat and we'll add it to our list, and hopefully we can get to answer all of those later today. Today's webinar is sponsored by Realism Live, the online art conference produced by Streamline, publishers of Plein Air Magazine and Fine Art Connoisseur Magazine. Coming up in, excuse me, coming up in November, Realism Live is the world's largest online art training event in realism. We are going to have 24 incredible artists from around the world that will be teaching, including all 4 of today's guests, and attendees from over 40 countries. There is also an optional Essentials Day designed to cover the fundamentals for beginners or as a refresher if you're more experienced. You can learn more at realismlive.com. Since we're on the subject of Realism Live, why don't we give away a ticket to Realism Live? Comment in the chat and let's see who our winner is going to be. Our winner today for our Realism Live ticket is Rosemary Wagner of Southport, North Carolina. Congratulations, Rosemary. Comment in the chat, I'm here, and make sure you send me an email so we can get you access to Realism Live. You've just won a general ticket to the event on November 9th, and don't worry, if you can't make those dates, we do have replays. I also have some more videos to give away from some of our Realism Live faculty. So if I call your name, please type I'm here in the chat and send me an email. We'll pop that email up on the screen. Up first is our nocturne video from Gavin Glackus. It's called Painting the Night, and the winner for that video is going to be Gloria Price from Plano, Texas. Congratulations, Gloria. You have just received Gavin's nocturne video. And our last video right now that we're going to give away is Jove Wang's Painting Expressive Portraits video. This is going to go to Maureen Gillot. I hope I pronounced that right. Maureen Gillot from Manassas, Virginia. Congratulations, Gloria and Maureen, for your videos. And if you like that impressionist style from Jove, he just released a new video with us called Painting Expressive Cityscapes, where he teaches you how to paint Venice in that beautiful impressionist style. So you can find that video and many more at painttube.tv. And congratulations to all of our winners. And remember to send me an email so I can get you access to your videos. That is kstober@streamlinepublishing.com. Thank you, Josh, for popping that up there. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Carrie Stober. I'm the project manager and Planner Salon art competition manager for Streamline Publishing. So as a thank you for watching today, you are all going to receive a free gift from us, which is our 10 Steps to Become a High-Level Figure and Portrait Artist ebook. Be sure to check your inbox for that later today. It's going to come along with your replay. We will also be giving away some more prizes throughout the webinar, so make sure you stay tuned to the very end because you do have to be present to win. As a reminder, today our webinar is titled How to Find Your Authentic Voice and Grow Your Art Career. So put your phone on Do Not Disturb and let's get to it. Your host today is Kelly Kane, Editor-in-Chief of Planner Magazine and American Watercolor Newsletter. Kelly has more than 25 years experience in art publishing and previously served as Editor-in-Chief of Watercolor Artist Magazine and Content Director for the Artist Magazine, Drawing, Acrylic Artist, and Pastel Journal. She has interviewed many of the preeminent artists of our time and written numerous articles about painting, drawing, art education, and art history. So let's welcome Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Carrie. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So happy to be here.
I am really excited about today's panel, so I will go ahead and let you get things started.
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. I'll see you in a bit. So our mission at Streamline is to help artists grow and make art accessible to everyone worldwide. As part of that mission, we aim to share experiences and learn from artists who have achieved professional success. And today we are lucky to have 4 world-class artists joining us to talk about their own paths to becoming professional artists. During the roundtable discussion, we'll explore how they were able to find their authentic voice and tips to help you grow your own art career. We're going to bring in our guests one at a time. And up first, please help me welcome Cindy Barron.
Hi.
Hey, Cindy. So great to have you. Why don't you tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I reside in Rhode Island, but spend a lot of time out west. So a lot of people don't, look at me as though, where does she live? Well, I live in a couple different areas. But anyway, I reside in Rhode Island. I'm from Indiana. I'm self-taught. I love all the mediums. I also do some teaching. So I have 2 sons that have kept me very busy and 5 grandkids. So I'm very lucky. But I love painting and I love teaching and I love doing what we're doing today. And today I'm in California, but I reside in Rhode Island.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Cindy. And next up, let's bring on Wende Caporale-Greene.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks so much.
Oh, Wende, thanks so much for joining us. Tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Certainly. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here with this really remarkable group of women. It's really quite an honor. I am a portrait and figurative painter. I reside in the Northeast in New England, and I paint in pastel mostly, pastel and oil, and I teach. I'm also on several boards. I serve on the Portrait Society of America board and the Hudson Valley Art Association, and also on a charity board called the Artists Fellowship, where we help artists all over the country, any artist residing in the United States who's having some kind of emergency. And I love to paint, I love to teach, and certainly nothing's more fun than to be able to sit among my colleagues and be able to discuss what we do and how we think. So thank you for including me.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we're so delighted to have you, Wende. And up next, I want to welcome Victoria Herrera. Good afternoon, Victoria.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm originally from Panama, and I work and paint from my studio in Montclair, New Jersey, which is right outside New York City. And I think I've been an artist since I was a kid, 6 years old. I was always fixing and building and creating things. And later on, I went to study when I was 15, college. And 18 years ago, that's when I actually moved to New York to join Grand Central Atelier, where I studied for 4 years. Back then, I think it was Grand Central, Florence Academy, and Angel Academy that only existed. We didn't have amazing opportunities like this one to learn online. So this is actually very exciting. I paint with oils. I tend to paint very large scale flower paintings, although I've been painting the hibiscus for many, many years. I do a lot of portrait commissions and figurative work and a little bit of teaching. I'll be doing a lot more teaching next year as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Victoria, for joining us. And last but not least, I want to say good morning to Vicky Sullivan, who's joining us bright and early from Australia. Hello, Vicky.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to be in amongst you lovely women.
Oh, it's wonderful to have us, or to have you. So tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
I'm mainly a figurative and portrait painter, but I also do still life. I paint in oils. And the other thing that I've been doing quite a lot of lately is going out and painting plein air. I just finished a few portrait commissions, so I'm in between commissions at the moment. So I'm sort of making the most of that because I know there'll be commissions coming in and then I'll have to, buckle down a bit more. But it's been really fun going outside and painting. And on rainy days, I've been doing still life, as you can see behind me. And I live in Australia, down below Melbourne, on the Mornington Peninsula, which is a beautiful area. And I studied at the Angel Academy of Art, which was a fantastic experience. It basically changed my life, and for the better. And it really helped me learn a lot of new skills. So that's all I can think of at the moment.
Excellent. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. And as you know, ladies, we asked the attendees to submit questions for you prior to today's event, and I have got a hearty list to start with. Time permitting, however, Carrie may pop in with some new questions from today, or we will maybe get to some of those at the end. So we'll see how it goes. But for now, let's get started. First of all, we wanted to talk about the authentic voice and what that means to you personally and how you would define it for aspiring artists. I'm kind of going to go around the room and let everyone have a chance to speak to that. And then ask each one of you also how you discovered your own authentic voice and how you developed that. So Wendy, would you like to lead us off?
Certainly, I'd be glad to. I have to apologize if I'm reading a bit because I don't want to miss out on some of the key points that I thought about when considering my authentic voice. First of all, I think finding a specific area of interest that really resonates with me was an important aspect of finding an authentic voice. And the mode of expression, meaning whatever material I felt I could convey that personal vision. We've all assembled and continue to hone the skills that we need in order to express ourselves. But it's important to have something meaningful to convey. And then finding that direction, and certainly at this point in my life, I'm really aware of it, having the maturity and, the changes that evolve in our life certainly puts us on a different path and makes us have different interests. And to embrace those things allows us to expand our voice and explore new possibilities. So that's basically.
I love that, Wendy. I mean, it's nice to think about the fact that is always kind of evolving and changing, and you're always adapting. So it's wonderful. Vicky, what would you like to add?
I think very similar to Wendy that it's an evolving path, and it finds you working in a way. I just think, as I've heard before, your style finds you working. So in a way, by working and at what you like to paint and finding, being drawn to certain things that you'd like to paint, that that is how you find your authentic voice, by working and painting things that you like. And, you know, each one is a new discovery, which leads you on to the next one. And I think it's a bit of a meandering path. It's and everybody's path is different. We're all interested in different things, and we're all drawn to different things. And yes, it is finding your medium. There's different explorations of, you know, oil paint or watercolor or whatever it is that you like to do. And it's just a matter of stepping up and finding your own little meandering path to your authentic voice. But I think it's really important to stay true to yourself and not paint for the market, but paint for the things that are inside of you, basically. You know, paint for your inner self, and then hopefully you will find a market for that. But don't just paint for the market.
Yeah, I love that. The meandering path, that's a beautiful way to put it. And I think obviously you're so spot on with painting for yourself and not the market. Victoria, what would you like to add?
I personally would like to say that for me, practice being in the presence has been critical to find my own voice. It's so easy to stay and be distracted constantly through social media and all different responsibilities that we all have. So it takes a lot of hard work to find the time to really go within deeper through many layers. And somewhere down there in your core, I think that you can start to find your authentic voice. That's what have happened to me anyway, in the last 15 years of my life. A lot of students and friends have asked me, you know, how do they become a better artist? And my response to that is always the same, is work harder on yourself than you do on your craft. And, you know, we have to go through a lot of emotional layers, fears, insecurities, self-doubt, all these other, you know, things that we battle with, aside from creating a good painting with our skills. So my biggest advice is pause to connect with yourself, and I think that would be a tremendous help.
Excellent. And Cindy?
First of all, I love what each one of these ladies said. I mean, it's so true. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for, you know, the contribution you just remarked on. Authentic voice, I find, comes with wisdom and age. I've been here for a long time. It comes with brush miles and failures and successes and journeys. And it's all of that wound up into one to find your authentic voice. It would be great, you know, if we knew what we knew in our 20s now, or, and you know, that saying. But the fact of the matter is, you have to go through all these trials and all the ups and downs and all the detours that are in the road ahead of you, following in this career, to find your authentic voice. I knew young that I was an artist. It's in the family, and we're all different, but it has taken me many years. And I tell my granddaughters, I didn't come out of a box like this. You know, I had to work on this. So it's a lot of miles. It's a lot of going into yourself. It's a lot of studying, and it's a lot about finding your confidence. And that's probably one of the biggest things. I love to paint. I'm an outdoor painter. I love the landscapes. I was raised mostly in the country with all men that love to fish and hunt. So I naturally gravitated to this type of painting. But like I said, it took many years to find my style, and I love everybody's style. I love art. I love it all. But it took many roadblocks, many detours to find that authentic voice, and I like it. It's great. So don't poo-poo on yourself or struggle with I'm not getting there fast enough. No, there it's on your timeline. It's on your ability. It's all inside of you on where you want to take your art and find your authentic style. It's taken me a long time, and like I said, I didn't come out of a box like this. I had to develop it. I had to work on it.
I think a lot of the people who are listening are going to be happy to hear that, that it does just take time, and it takes miles on the brush, and it will come to everyone if they put in the work. So the next question we have is, what advice do you have for artists who have a diverse interest in subjects and mediums, and how can you find coherence in your body of work and establishing your authentic voice when you have that variety of interest? And Cindy, I think I'm going to come back to you, just because I know that you do beautiful work in both watercolor and oils for landscapes. So what has finding a coherent look across, does that even bother you, or if there's a coherent look between your oils and watercolors?
No, because that comes with wisdom and nature.
Okay.
So no, but like Wende, I got my cheat sheets here because I don't want to miss, it's not saying something, or I like to keep on track because that's where my head goes. But for me, I am a watercolorist and an oil painter, but not too many people know that I started out with charcoals, pen and ink, and pastels, and I did mostly portraits back then and wildlife. And then I found a beautiful watercolor, and it led me to do watercolor. And then oils just led me. After I had my children, I started working with the oils, because at the time, and it wasn't good to have all those products around your young kids. So I find that people know my watercolors and people know my oils, and they will understand that a lot of them relate to each other. I start my oils like my watercolors, and my watercolors have that richness of an oil painting. So I find that a lot of people recognize that. I'm not too worried about that, and I love to do both. It took me a long time, to be totally honest, for a gallery to accept my watercolors, because most galleries like oils. But once they saw my watercolors, they went, wow, you're different. And, yes, I can see the relatability to your oil paintings. So I think it's because with both of those mediums, it helped me grow. And I think I think people see them, relatable. It's when I teach workshops, I usually do two at a time, and one's a watercolor workshop and one's an oil. So my students say, now I understand why you do this, and now I understand why you do that. So I think being diverse is perfect. I think, I think it changed, I think it's all good. It's good for growth. It's good for the community. It's good for everybody to know that you are this type of artist. So I hope that summed that up, right?
No, that was perfect. And how about when you like to paint a variety of subjects, say still life or florals, and also portraits? Victoria, you might want to address that.
I missed the question because I was muting myself.
Oh, no problem. We're talking about finding a coherent look between, if you're interested in a lot of different subjects, so say still life and florals or portraits, does it frankly, does it bother you about having a coherent look between those types of work? Or in terms of finding your authentic voice, what would be your advice for someone who likes to paint a lot of different subjects?
I think that, well, we do have to find sort of like a common denominator that is recognizable. But I think that at the end of the day, really, it's not so much what you paint or even how you paint it. I keep going back to the inner work that we all have to do and portray that sort of energy or those sort of emotions into our work. And I think that by doing that constantly, the cohesiveness will exist. So we have to, I think, find a reason, like a very meaningful, I think is a good word, reason to do what we do. And the viewer will see that, in the work. Some artists choose to be cohesive with the palette that they work with or the subject matter. I paint classically. I tend to go through many layers like the old masters did. And I think that can be seen even in my big flowers and my portrait commissions. There's still that underneath in terms of skill. And in terms of the emotional or the spiritual, I don't know how to call it, aspect of it, I try to approach my work the same way, always trying to find something that connects me with that painting. For instance, if an artist, or if I was going to paint a still life, which I don't actually paint a lot of, I would not set up just a beautiful still life that looks pretty in terms of composition. I would try to find something in that still life, one single thing that connects me deeper with the whole composition. And I think that the more we do that, that will show up in our work. The more that there's a connection is what I'm trying to say. There's got to be a connection between our inner self and the materials that we're using or the way we paint.
Great. So Vicki, I know earlier you said you talked about not painting for the market when you're trying to find your authentic voice, but have you ever had a situation where your authentic style wasn't really resonating with the market, and what did you do about that, or how did you adjust?
Well, yes, in a way, in Australia, and I suppose back in the 80s, the sort of realism that I'm doing, traditional realism, wasn't really accepted when I was at art school, and it was very unacceptable, sort of. It wasn't fashionable, but that was what I really wanted to learn, and so that was part of the reason I had to search out how to learn it, and I ended up saving up and going to Florence. And because that wasn't really available to me in Australia, there weren't many people who could paint that way. And as Victoria mentioned earlier, there were only a few ateliers around, and there certainly weren't any in Australia. Or maybe there's one school in Sydney, but anyway. So when I started painting realism, it wasn't really as fashionable in Australia as I could see it moving ahead in other countries, basically in Europe and in the US. So I started entering competitions in America and in Europe and putting my work out there internationally more. And I found that it was actually much easier to be accepted, especially the art establishment. In Australia, the portrait competitions there was only really a few realist paintings being accepted into them 10 years ago or so. But now there is a little bit more, but I see there's a lot more appreciation in America and in Europe. I think it's forging ahead. Realism is a really growing movement, and it's forging ahead very fast in America and Europe. And I think we are a long way from the rest of the world. It takes us a while to catch up, perhaps. Mm-hmm. But so that's what I did. I started, I must have listened to a podcast, I think, and somebody said, not everyone's going to like your art, So find out where they do like your art and put it in front of them. And so basically I tried to do that. And I thought, well, you know, it's quite true, isn't it, that not everybody is going to like your art. And so, but somewhere somebody will. So if you can find that area and put your work out there, well, you know, that's what you have to do, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it really wasn't so much about you changing what you were doing. It was about finding the right market for what you
Yes.
wanted to do.
Yes.
Wendy, I'm going to come to you for the next question, and it's an interesting one. In your experience, have you noticed significant differences in the subjects addressed by contemporary male and female artists? In other words, does gender play a role in artistic expression?
That's a really interesting question. And I really had to ponder that, but I have to say that I don't necessarily feel that gender does play a specific role. I think if we're authentic to ourselves, that we choose, in other words, we choose subjects that we respond to personally, and you know, whether it's figurative, whether it's landscape, whether it's floral, if we are totally engaged with our subject, we could communicate what we're trying to convey with our personal interest. I don't know if I'm putting that well. I'm just thinking that it doesn't matter if we're a man or a woman, but if we are really attached to that subject, we're going to be able to make that subject resonate with our interest in it and convey a meaning that is visceral, that people will respond in a visceral way to it. So I don't necessarily, I mean, now I'm not talking about economically the difference between men and women. I'm not going to go there, but I'm talking about just the choice of subjects and whether or not you can distinguish between a man or a woman's work. I don't necessarily think you can. I think of Artizma Gentileschi, who painted with her father back in the Renaissance, and her work was just as powerful as her father's. Maybe subject matter might be a little different for women than men, and I hate to even say that, because many women paint really strong subjects and convey their strength through their subject matter. And I think you'd be hard pressed without looking at a signature to decide if something was painted by a man or a woman.
Yeah, I would agree with that, absolutely. Wendy, do any of the other ladies have anything that you would want to add to that? Cindy, did you have something?
I might add a few things. I think Wendy said it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of hard. And be honest, you can see behind me. I love the landscape, and I love hiking. I love fishing. I like all that stuff. You might think it's more of a male world, but you know, it resonates with me. So no, I don't think you can see the difference. But if you do your craft well, study it well, it doesn't matter. It's all your painting's going to say what it's supposed to say. Your painting's going to reflect who you are, whether you're a male or a female. Yeah, in the business world, there might be some other things that, you know, might differentiate. And I might say, because for me, I'm more shyer and reserved, you know, and so, but I kind of look at the male who might be a little bit more aggressive, and I learn from that. It's not, you know, a male female thing. You know, I think we both bring something to the palette. But and our palette colors might be a little bit different. I mean, I paint with a lot of men, and I paint with a lot of women. And to be honest, we all look at each other's palette and go, "Oh, let me try that. Oh, let me try that." You know, so no, it's choice. But if you do your craft well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't see that as being so much of an issue anymore, that females will be painting certain subjects. And I also think about the choice of mediums that an artist uses. You know, it's not just florals or pretty pictures that are done in watercolors versus, you know, tackling more complicated subjects are reserved for oils. It's all a mix. But Wendy, you wanted to add something?
I'm sorry, Kelly. I hope I didn't interrupt you, but I did want to just add, maybe that was the inception that we've had from previous generations, where I think of women who were not offered the same opportunity to study as men were in this 18th century or 17th century previously. You know, if they happened to be the daughter of someone, or, you know, they lived in a very artistic family, that enabled them to study a certain area. I think, you know, women weren't allowed to draw and paint nudes until the mid 18th or maybe even early 19th century in American schools. And I think of someone like Mary Cassatt, who would paint what was familiar to her in her own little insular household. But I think we're in a totally different time when women and men are allowed. Women certainly are allowed to do many of the same things that men can do, and that's reflected in our work. So I hope I didn't interrupt.
No, thank you for adding that. That was a great observation. And now we're going to switch gears a little bit and turn to some of those questions related to growing your art career. First question is, was there a pivotal moment or a particular step that you had to take early in your career that has helped you launch yourself as a professional artist? And Wendy, I'm going to come back to you. I think this was a topic that you were interested in.
It was. And when I started, when I really got started as an artist who focused on portraiture, I should say that my previous life, I was an illustrator, and I did a lot of children-related, young adult kinds of books and editorial types of illustration, which I really enjoyed. But the market changed, and I had a child in the early 90s, and I really did want to do portraiture. So once I had my daughter, I found that I was exposed to families with lots of children and all kinds of subject matter. So I would get to know the parents, and I'd ask them if I could paint their children. And more often than not, they wanted to buy the portraits that I did. Mm-hmm. So I kind of started this little business for myself, and then got connected with portrait galleries, and started to really kick into doing portraiture. Unfortunately, because of that, it was kind of a niche market where I was only known for doing portraits, and I was known for doing them in pastel. So I'm still at this point in my career, still trying to expand on doing more adult portraits, which I am doing now, and working in oil, which I really enjoy. I do want to add one other thing, just to get back to what we were talking about in terms of different materials and different subject matter. And I'm sorry to go back, but I wanted to add a couple of things. One thing, being able to paint all different types of subject matter, I think is very beneficial for anyone. I mean, if you gravitate towards a certain subject because it really intrigues you, why not learn to paint it? It can only inform your other work. I became interested in sculpture about 10 years ago, and I started sculpting in clay. I have a head of my husband behind me. And I don't do sculpture professionally, but I love the process of manipulating clay. And I found that it really helped my portraiture because I didn't think of things three-dimensionally. And now I very much am cognizant of anatomy and how it applies to painting, whereas I didn't have to be able to identify the body parts when I was painting two-dimensionally. I didn't have to make sure every muscle was in the right place because I could visually create that. But when you're sculpting, you really have to know. So that's all I wanted to add.
No, that was perfect. Thank you so much, Wendy.
Certainly.
Victoria, so how about you? Was there a pivotal moment that helped launch your professional career?
Well, for me, it was about 18 years ago. I've spent a long time in the rainforest in Panama, where I'm from originally. And I came back home, and my sister, who was taking part in an architectural interior design sort of show or competition, asked me to make her a very large painting, 72 by 72 inches. And I said, well, of what? And she said, anything, whatever you want. And I have found myself at that moment very melancholic, very kind of sad about the things that we take for granted when we're growing up. And so I decided to make a very large painting of the hibiscus flower, which I've been painting ever since. But I remember back then also I was taking private classes with Mark Tennant, who continued to tell me that a successful painting always has to arrest the viewer. And it's something that I try to practice as today. So I made this giant painting of hibiscus flowers in neutral gray tones. And my reasoning for that was to force the viewer to imagine the colors, to imagine the hues, the vibration of the flower. And that turned out to be a very, very, very successful painting. It's interesting because back then I wasn't painting. I hadn't even started studying at GCA, and my brush strokes were not as tight as I paint right now. And years later, that painting, several people wanted to paint it, to buy it. And several years later, I run into the couple that purchased the painting, and they told me that. I said, well, what is it that made you? I thought she was going to say, well, the gray values, etc. She said, no, the painting was so erotic. I'm like, erotic? I'm like, how's that? It's like, oh, immediately your mind go places. I said, no, I could feel the energy of your brushstrokes. And I think about that all the time because, I think I'm the mystic in this group here. For me, it's all about the energy that we put behind anything that we want to do. And sort of piggybacking with what Wendy said earlier, in Cindy, it could be a variety of different things that we paint. But if we have the right energy, the right motivation, the right inspiration attached to our craft, then our work becomes successful. So after that, I was represented by a gallery in a couple galleries overseas. And another time, very important time of my life was 15 years ago when I woke up from a coma. I got really sick in Italy while vacationing. And after that happened, I was forced to find answers to questions I've never asked myself before. And I was forced to do some inner work. And when I started to do that, again, connecting both aspects of any artist, I think that we have, I also start seeing a shift in how my work was being received and how I was approaching my artwork. So I would say those two occasions. And I continue to work on my craft. I think it was Michelangelo that died saying, I'm still learning. And I believe that is extremely important. I think Cindy have mentioned that a few times. It's so critical that we don't become complacent in what we do or with the skills that we have. We have to strive to be better human beings, better artists. And it's so amazing that we have venues like this one where we can share and support one another. I think that's extremely helpful for everybody to have.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Victoria. That was beautifully put. Cindy, was there a pivotal moment for you that really helped launch your career?
Yes, several, but it started younger. I did, like everybody else here, somebody asked me to draw something. They loved it. They bought it. And I went, whoa, I like this. So I've been professional for over 45 plus years. But the pivotal part for me was I just had to throw myself out there. And I was young. I was, early 20s. And so I got into a local art show that was in the park there, which was always had the best artists in. And I worked in a tool and die company for a dozen years. And so I only did my art sometimes on the weekend or in the middle of the night. But anyway, I had such a successful show that the bug bit me and I just had to keep doing it. So I think the pivotal part for me, because I mentioned earlier, you know, I was really shy and reserved, and I had to learn that confidence. And so I just threw myself into doing a few of these shows that I could at least drive. I lived in Indiana at the time. And so I find that fear is paralyzing, and something that I have learned, and I keep saying to myself every day, if you're fearful, you're going to be paralyzed. And I'm saying this in the confidence realm. So for me, throwing myself out there into that first art show and having it be successful was like, woohoo, I'm on my way. You know, I didn't go to college. I went right from high school to the workforce, well, even before that. And I had to learn on my own, but, you know, I don't know if you want to say some genetic genes that come with the art world, because in my family, we're all a little bit of eclectic about that. But that first show, yeah, and selling my first painting, and then having it be a successful show, and then the years after that winning awards, that was the part that was so pivotal for me. And then after that came, you know, galleries and all that kind of stuff. We didn't have social media back then. You know, it was just me, myself, and I, and some sneakers and paintbrushes. So you just have to throw yourself out there. Just look at it this way: fear is paralyzing, and you got to gain that confidence. You just got to go do it. And that's the pivotal part of me. I say that almost every day. If you're fearful, you're paralyzed.
That beautifully put. Thank you for that. And you might have given us a nice segue to talk about, people had a lot of questions about what are some of your best practices for getting your art seen and recognized and sold in today's competitive art market. I suspect social media may play some role in that, but Vicki, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's not one thing to, you know, it's not one answer for that. I think it's many answers, but the main thing is to be persistent. So put your work out there, keep posting on Instagram and Facebook and all the social media, and do it persistently. You know, do it every couple of days, put something out there, even if it's you know, showing your palette or whatever. Just keep your name in front of people. I think that's really important. The other thing I would say is enter competitions. I think that really helps, because it teaches you it builds your confidence a bit, and it puts you out there with other artists, and you not only meet other artists, but you learn from them, which is a really important thing, because other artists, if you're in a group, and that can teach you things, and their experience, you can learn from other people's experience. And I think that is really valuable. And the other thing I would say is to listen to podcasts. There's quite a few good art podcasts around, and you can learn a lot about marketing through listening to other artists' experience. And but the main thing would be to be persistent, and don't just do it sporadically. You have to sort of do some posting and getting your work out there, you know, a few times a week at least, I would say. I think that would help.
That's good advice. Cindy, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Exactly right. When I started out, there was no social media. And when you enter contests is a great way of getting out there. It also, but the first contest I won was through a slide. You had to submit slides, and boy, we come a long way, baby. You know, from the way that, you know, we had to do it 40 years ago. Social media is great, and yes, Vicky's right. You got to keep your posting something. My sons yell at me all the time, Mom, I haven't seen anything today. So posting is really important. And I will say one thing about that. So I hope I don't raise eyebrows here, but keep it very professional. Every now and then you might see a post that I might put on there just, about my sons, but I keep everything very professional. And galleries, everybody looks at that. They want to know, it's about your art. It's not about anything else. And they do like to know a little bit of background about you. And I can't remember what conference I sat in that said, or it wasn't even that, it was a collector. It goes, we enjoy knowing something about who you are too, but keep it very professional. Plein air events are great. Competitions are great. Just know that galleries, say you introduce yourself to a gallery, just introduce yourself and then go back there again and say, hi, I'm Cindy. I love your work in here. And then, go back again. And, because galleries like different approaches now, maybe send them an email, but just get to know your gallery and get to know what might best represent them and if they can best represent you. You got to do a little extra work in there before you actually say, hey, I'd love to be represented. There was one gallery I'm in Highlands in Lambertville, New Jersey. And I went to see her one year. And I always would comment, whatever she posted. But then the following year she goes, I'd like to represent you. And so, there's a lot of miles, once again, in getting that representation. But I can't, you got to keep growing. You got to keep on top of it. Social media is changing every day. And so thank God I have young sons to help me figure that part out. But keep it professional and it will get you give you a lot of miles.
Yeah, that's good advice, Cindy. Something that I give my teenage and 20-year-old daughters as well is, be out there on social media, but, be a little careful too about what you put out there because it stays forever. So talking a bit about galleries, how important is gallery representation today and what steps can artists take to get into galleries? Cindy, I think you addressed a little bit of that, but Victoria, what would you have to say to that subject?
Actually, I have stopped by at a few galleries in New York and I have asked them that question directly because New York is a market that a lot of artists want to penetrate. And it's just a way to actually get into a gallery in New York if you know someone who's already in that gallery. So that will get a conversation started is what I have heard. But not to raise the eyebrow, like I think Cindy said earlier, Wendy. The truth is that to get into a gallery, you have to create really good work. You have to continue to expand your voice on your work and to be noticed, because I think it was Vicky who mentioned earlier how now it's not about trying to get into a gallery in New York and people or artists in this country apply to it. I walked into a gallery the other day, a well-known gallery in New York, and have the artists there were from overseas. A lot of artists are coming out of Ukraine, China, everywhere. So actually walking into a gallery was like going to a Instagram virtual show. So, and that particular owner of that gallery curates his work through Instagram. So yes, you have to post often. I'm actually don't do that as much as I should. I need to borrow your songs in these 2 songs. And, but it is important. It is important to keep it professional. They'll look at your Instagram page. A gallery will, if they're considering you. And I don't know. I think that also there's got to be, I think there's a huge need for a very deep and honest conversation between gallery owners and artists. I hope Eric one day can facilitate this.
Mm-hmm.
And find out, I don't know, build some sort of bridge to figure out a good way to work together now that we have social media in between. I remember when I used to go to a gallery opening, and you almost have to, at least in New York, and you have to almost wait around the corner to get in to see that show. And now it's like an artist could be present at the opening here in New York, and a few people even go because they already seen it all on Instagram. So I'm not sure how that is working for both artists and galleries, but I think there is a really huge need to create some collaboration and communication, because I think as well that galleries are expecting us to do more, not just take the 50% commission that we typically talk about and hate, but it could be a time where, like, the gallery and the artist would, for instance, share or split the cost of framing or shipping. That doesn't happen anymore. Galleries expect the artists to take care of that. And on the other side, I also walked into a gallery the other day, and I was surprised to see an artist that I admire, and she's taking a huge amount of space at the entrance of the gallery. And when I asked the manager how she gotten in there, what he said was, well, we gotta make sure that this one artist is paying for the square footage, the rental space for this month. So she had to sell to stay there working with them. And that's why I said at the beginning, you have to create good work or better work. We all have to, because the competition is fierce. It's fierce. It's not globally or domestically anymore. It's internationally. So I'm not saying this to scare anyone, just to maybe motivate everyone and inspire everyone to keep working hard. And like Wendy said earlier, when I keep talking about the inner work that we have to do, I mean, one of the main things is dealing with fear, with the fear of not having a voice, or the fear of being rejected, and all those things that we have to battle with every day. I actually learned to give fear, the feeling or the emotion of fear, it looks like someone. So when I'm in my studio and I'm painting and I start feeling the fear, I'm a perfectionist, like, it doesn't look good. Oh, you suck. I mean, you gotta go back and learn. I actually know what fear looks like. It's not a feeling. It's a person. It's a thing. And I talked to him. And I said, okay, I got you. I hear you. That's a good point. I'm going to work on it. Now, please go. And that has been very helpful. I have different demons that look like someone or something that I talk to, because as Wendy said, it's paralyzing. It's paralyzing to all of us at one point or another during our creation. So stay motivated, stay working hard, harder than ever. And again, now we are so lucky to have these kinds of venues, like this amazing conference that you can be in your pajamas and learning at the same time. So that's what I have to say about galleries.
Thank you, Victoria. One question that we got a lot in a lot of different variations was about determining the pricing for your artwork. Is it based on factors like size, medium, or the time involved? And Wendy, I'm going to come to you to hear your thoughts, please.
Certainly. I remember trying to come up with a appropriate pricing for my work. And I have to say, I think someone else mentioned this too, that they looked around at artists whose work they felt was somewhat comparable with their own, and looked at their pricing structure, and which is what I did, to try and get a sense of what I could command. But I also had to think about the area in which I lived and whether or not I could command those prices in that area. The other thing is, I think about the amount of time that it takes to do a specific work, the size of a specific work, the complexity of it, and all of those things factor into coming up with pricing. And the truth is, you could come up with pricing, and if you find that you're getting a ton of work, then you know that you're undercutting yourself. You should be charging more. And if you get to the point where you're charging too much and you're not getting enough work, then you know you could come down on your prices. You don't have to make your pricing public. I mean, I was speaking in the terms of in the days of social media. You don't have to necessarily make your prices public. I don't know how other people are handling that, but I generally don't. I make it public through the galleries that I work with. And I do have a price list that I follow, and it's consistent whether I sell my work privately or through a gallery. But I don't necessarily put it out there. So I don't know how much this helps, but I think you have to be honest with yourself. I mean, you have to take into account the amount of work that you're putting in, the amount of schooling you've had, how good the work is. And this you can judge. Someone else had mentioned this earlier about work. I think Cindy was mentioning putting your work in competitions and doing that. And I think Vicki mentioned that as well. Doing that gives you a sense of how you look among other artists, and how whether you're winning awards, how you're being viewed, and whether or not your work is being valued. And that could, and certainly those awards and that recognition could also influencing your prices.
No, that was very helpful, Wendy. And Vicki, we talked a little bit about this before we started, and I think you echoed some of what Wendy said. But I'd be curious to know, to Wendy's point, do you make your prices public? Maybe you could address that a little bit. People might be of interest. That might be of interest. Yeah.
I do, actually. I've got pricing on my website, and I like to have everything up front because I know when sometimes if I've had a good year, I'll buy a little study from an artist. And I've got a little collection. I'm starting to get a little collection together, and there's certain artists I like, and I would love to buy a piece from them. But if I have to ask for the price, it's embarrassing sometimes because I may not be able to afford it, especially with Aussie dollars. And I like to be able to know what the price is without having to ask. So I like my prices up there, up front. It's all up front and clear. And people can just take it from there. And if they're interested, they can contact me. It's just a different way to do it. But I know I've seen beautiful paintings in galleries and thought, I wonder if I could afford that. But I'm too embarrassed to email them and find out it's above my, what I can afford. And so it puts me off. And I don't want people to feel like that. That's just a personal thing, I suppose. But like Wendy, when it comes to pricing, you have to factor in your materials, your time, the size of the work. And I had a good chat to a friend, Tina Garrett, and about pricing, and she was very good. So she prices hers per square inch. So I worked out my basic prices and then made it per centimetre because we work in decimals here. And that was really helpful. But also, as Wendy suggested, I was talking about, I looked at other artists who had similar work with comparable experience, and I based a lot of my pricing on other people's pricing just to get an idea. Look at some other artists who are similar, check out their pricing and see if yours stacks up in a similar way. So yeah, and then once you've worked it out, you can figure it out per centimetre or per inch, and that will help you keep track. And like Wendy, I'm the same. It has to be, you can't sell your work for half of what the gallery sells it. If you sell it privately, you have to keep your prices consistent. Otherwise, you'll put your gallery off, and they're doing the work for you. So you don't want to put them off. You have to be fair to them as well.
More good advice. One question that frequently gets asked.
Kelly,
I'm sorry, Carrie.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to jump in here real quick. We had a question in the chat. So I was going to ask Cindy this question. Would your watercolors and oils, if they're the same size, would you price them the same or would they be different?
No, they both stay the same on the size wise. Mine is priced per square inch, and it was my price list started years ago, and then obviously with inflation things go up a little bit. And then I have one gallery. Well, if I put the real expensive gold leaf frames on there, which a lot of them, require, then I take that into consideration, maybe a little extra, because the gold leaf and framing has gone up immensely in the last 2-3 years. But my watercolors and my oils are priced the same. And it's actually really hard. There's a lot of time to take to frame a watercolor, to be totally honest, but they stay the same. I'm very consistent. You need to stay consistent, and that's the most important.
Oh, I'm glad Carrie asked that question. I think that is important, particularly to a lot of artists who do different mediums, and how particularly pastel or watercolors sometimes get stacked up against oils, and what that does for pricing. So I'm so glad to hear your response to that.
So,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Something else. Yeah.
And one more thing. In the art world, the watercolors, I love it, because at one time in time, the watercolors weren't perceived as valuable. All that is, and that changed because of the material we can use for watercolors, as far as glass and protective and the frames. So watercolors have made a huge insurgence, along with gouache and pastels. So it's look out oils, because all of these are becoming just as fabulous and wonderful as the oils are, that got the respect. So watercolors have the respect, is what I want to say.
Yes. Vicki, what did you want to add?
I just wanted to add one more thing. So when I'm working out my pricing, obviously different things take a different amount of time, and I tend to spend some months on my figurative paintings, but weeks on my still life, and then just a day on my plein air paintings. So they're all priced differently, and of course whatever takes the longest is priced the highest. So that's a difference as well. So not everything is the same in that regard. So I do price my figurative work differently to my still life, and my still life differently to my plein air. And it's to do with the time involved in creating those pieces.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's another important consideration. So one question that frequently gets asked, some may think unfairly of women in a number of fields, but it's something that I think a lot of us actually struggle with, and that's, how do you balance family responsibilities with your art career? And I suppose that could go as well for like the business side of having an art career versus the painting side. And in relation to that, then, do you have any time management tips for artists that can help them find that balance as often as possible anyway? Cindy, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm going to say the hardest part of the job is balancing, especially when it comes to deadlines. But the most important part is family. Things can get done. There's 24 hours in a day, and it may take a whole lot of coffee, but you got it. Balance is hard. It really is. I'm just going to give you a short little thing. I raise professional athletes. They play professional basketball. And so that is like raising an Olympian. I was dedicated to them and getting them from point A to point B. Plus, my husband had a very tough job too. He was a Division I basketball coach. So most of all the everything fell on my shoulders. So I had to learn how to balance that out. And so every part of a day is was designed maybe just, a half an hour to marketing or a half hour to, keeping my financial parts in the art world right. And then a lot of the times I couldn't paint until maybe the middle of the night. And one important thing is I painted an award winner for the American Watercolor Society that was done with a pot of coffee in an attic, upstate New York. And it was a portrait of my neighbor, and everything was done in one night because the slide was due tomorrow, the next day. And but during that day, I had to balance everything else out. So it's part of the hardest part of a woman's job or man's job. The roles have changed. So I'm not, leaving anybody out. We all have to make a living. We all have to figure out who cooks the dinner or who picks the kids up or whatever. For me, most of the responsibility was on my shoulders. I love it. I wouldn't change a darn thing. I would make maybe 36-hour days instead of 24-hour days. But you have to devote a little bit of time every day to your craft. I paint every day. If I'm not painting, I'm sketching. If I'm not sketching, I'm cleaning up the photos in my computer. If I'm not doing that, it's something, but something is done every day. And you might call me a little bit of a workaholic, but I love my job. I waited a long time to get to this miles in my life. And I get to fly and do all the things that I do. So I have a lot of more time. But for the younger people starting out, it's hard. Like I said, it may take a pot of coffee. It may take a little reflection time. But if you do a little bit of something each day with your craft, your career, you'll be all right. And just know your time will come. I knew my time would come. And my kids always said, "Ma, you sacrificed for all of us." It wasn't a sacrifice. I got to have children. I got to raise kids. My time is now later as they're growing up with a family of their own. I think I can give them great wisdom on that, but you have to dedicate certain parts of your day to doing that. And then I had major health setbacks. And just when my career was going good, I had open heart surgery. And then I get back on my feet. And just when everything was at the pinnacle of my career again, I got cancer. Now it's like, everything's a balance, but there's a reason for it. Somebody upstairs, the man or woman who's in charge upstairs is, I love the journey, they've given me to do. I love that journey because it's made me strong. It gave me confidence. It gave me a voice. It gave me my balance in life. All these little roadblocks and all that stuff that gives you, it all comes with miles and age, dedication, passion, and your journey.
That's definitely the theme of today's conversation, I think, Cindy. But Wendy, do you have anything to add in terms of how you have found that balance?
Well, I'm at a much different point in my life. Certainly, I had the years of raising our daughter. My husband was an artist, a well-known artist. We both had studios in our home, but I was really responsible for raising our daughter. I took the lion's share of the effort involved in raising our daughter. And she was also, she wasn't a professional athlete, but she was an athlete, and I was constantly rushing her to various activities. I mean, she's grown now, and I'm a widow. So I'm at a very different point in my life. And I almost feel like sometimes I should be doing something else because I have lots of time in the studio now, and it's an absolute treat. I'm very grateful for it at this point in my life, but there was a lot of juggling. And the only thing I could say to young people who have young children, that if you could carve out, especially women, and I'm sure this is probably still true, if you could carve out, as Cindy said, specific time during every day that you could work, even if it's only an hour, drawing or painting or sculpting, whatever it takes, just so you're keeping your hand in it constantly. I worked part-time for many years when my daughter was really little because I wanted to be engaged with her. I wanted to be part of her life. It was very important to me. And I'm glad I am. She's a very successful architect now. And I'd like to think maybe a little of that had something to do with me. But wouldn't have given that up for a moment. But I'm very happy to be at this point in my life too. Not very happy. I'm content. to be at this point in my life where I could focus now on my work and take the time that's necessary. And I have no excuses. So I don't know if that imparts any wisdom to anyone. I hope it does.
Oh, I think it definitely does, Wendy. Thank you so much. And okay, I think we have come to a little break here. But if you've enjoyed this so far, we're going to take a quick break to tell you about a great event we have coming up. But stick around because we're going to be back with these ladies to ask one last question when we're done.
Thank you so much to all of you guys. That information was so wonderful, and I loved all those great time management tips. Because as we all know, it can be super difficult to find time to paint, let alone time to actually study new things and learn new things. So after years of teaching art, we have found here at Streamline that the best way to gain new skills is simply to immerse yourself in the topic, which is why we created our upcoming 3-day online conference, Realism Live. So we're going to watch this quick video and we're going to tell you what it's all about.
Welcome to Realism Live.
Welcome to Realism Live.
Welcome to Realism Live.
This is my lesson for Realism Live.
Welcome to today's lesson. Welcome to my class.
I hope you enjoy this demo.
Let's get started.
You have an opportunity to go to an art conference online, and this is it. For the next 3 days, we're here to make you better and to inspire you. You're going to experience massive growth this week. This is the best possible opportunity to really push yourself to the next level. You can do this.
I absolutely loved it.
More than met any expectations.
I keep finding myself going, this is truly amazing.
I learn something new every time. It's therapy.
Just when you think it can't get any better, it really does. It just keeps getting better.
This experience has been a game changer, not only for your art, but for one's life.
People who can't travel or afford to travel or go to workshops out there are able to learn from all these different artists right from our own studios and homes.
What you're going to get over the next few days will blow your mind, but it's also going to take you further than you ever thought.
There's landscape painting, there's portraits, there's still life. Like, I'm getting a little bit of everything, and I am very excited about that.
You guys are giving me more tools to put in my toolbox.
I appreciate certain things on a whole new level.
I get all these great artists teaching me all these new things, but I get to sleep in my own bed tonight.
So many fantastic artists, master artists who are sharing all their expertise.
The artists, what they bring is just shocking. It's the whole day just flew through, and it's so fast because it's so much to take in.
You have the best of the best out there. So many of these people you can't even get to. You cannot get to them.
They all have so much to offer and everything's so different. Everybody today has been amazing, all in their own different ways. I learned so much.
Every single artist I have an aha moment from. I learned something from everybody today, and I've been painting for 36 years.
I just loved it. I've never done this before. It's so new to me. It's been class.
And new friends too. There's people here that I have become very good friends with.
To meet other people in this, so total immersion is definitely the way to go.
Really incredible to see people, connect with them.
Go to every breakout room, talk to everybody, try every single thing. Even if you think you can't do it, put that aside.
It just has been a real lifesaver through this whole time. I have just incredibly appreciated all you've done.
I love that video. I get so excited every time I watch it. Realism Live is the world's largest online art training event in realism, and this will be our 4th year hosting this event. We have 24 incredible artists from around the world that are going to be teaching, including all of today's panelists, as well as attendees from over 40 countries. As you saw in the video, there are a variety of subjects and styles represented because even the best portrait artist needs to be able to put a believable landscape in the background. And even the best landscape artists need to know how to paint a figure to put in their landscape. So all of these approaches, these styles, these mediums, everything informs everything else and makes us a stronger painter, which is, the ultimate goal, whether you're an experienced pro wanting to get to the highest level or just, starting out. So I want to share with you guys the faculty lineup that we have coming this year. I'm super excited about. We have Max Ginsberg, C.W. Mundy, Bert Silverman, Luis Alvarez Rohr, Stephen Bauman, Cindy Barron, Wende Caporale-Greene, Eddie Filer Jr., Pat Fiorello, Nancy France Vaz, Gavin Glackus, Cornelia Hernes, Victoria Herrera, Philip Koch, Paul Cratter, Calvin Lai, Jim McVicker, Mark Shasha, Britton Snyder, Vicky Sullivan, Dan Thompson, Glenn Vilpu, Jove Wang, and Patricia Watwood. So if you want to attend Realism Live, a general ticket would include 3 days of Realism Live, 7 days of replays, access to our Realism Live Facebook community, live breakout sessions where you have a chance to meet other artists like you and make some great connections. We've heard from many of our attendees who've met someone in a breakout room and then ended up getting together in real life and going out to paint together, which is pretty cool. Then we end our days with our cocktail hour paint-alongs, and this is an opportunity to enjoy a cocktail and just casually paint along with artists from around the world while chatting about the day. The full price for a general ticket is $8.97, but we still have our early bird price up on the website right now, which is $3.97. And in addition to the main event, we have our Essential Techniques Day the day before. Essentials is a chance for people to get a refresher before the event starts and is also a great way for beginners to kick off the event. You can see here our faculty is Stephen Bauman, Pat Fiorello, Victoria Herrera, Philip Koch, Paul Cratter, and Glenn Vilpu. And the day includes a full day of essential techniques and refreshers, 7 days of replay access to the Realism Live Facebook community, the live breakout sessions, and a paint-along during the cocktail hour. The full price of Essentials is $297, but we have the early bird price on the website still, which is $197. So if you were to buy a general ticket and Essentials Day, you would pay $594. But since you are watching today, we want to give you this price for $397. This is our exclusive webinar price only. You won't find this offer anywhere else. But because you've sat in on today's session and we know that you're dedicated to improving your skills, we want to make sure you join us at Realism Live. And if you're truly serious about improving, this is a great opportunity. And if 7 days of replays isn't enough, you can get, for $100 more, you can purchase the Premier ticket, which is our most popular, and extend your replays to 60 days. And we also have the VIP ticket option, which gives you replay access for 365 days. So lots of time to review everything over and over and over. Remember, this is our special webinar only price. You're not going to find this anywhere else. It's just for you today. And if you sign up by midnight on Sunday, you are also going to get these bonus videos. We have Realism Live 2020 demos from Todd Casey, Kathy Odom, Juliet Aristides, Joshua LaRock, Graydon Parrish, and Dan Gerhartz. These are all 6 fantastic demos, and it's a total value of $1,182 just in bonus alone, plus the discount we're giving you on Essentials. And one more thing, if you sign up in the next hour, we are also going to give you day 1 of Eric Rhodes' Art Marketing Bootcamp series that was recorded live at the 2019 Plein Air Convention. We never released this session to the public, and it covers lots of marketing strategies that are specific to artists. Eric will cover topics like art pricing and sales, how to use social platforms like Instagram and Facebook, and how to easily build relationships with collectors, communities, art communities, and galleries. And if you're on the fence, just know that Realism Live does come with a 100% money back guarantee. If you watch the first full day of Realism Live and you don't love it, let us know by the end of the day and we will happily refund your money. Doris Mady said, "This is probably the best thing I've ever done in my life." And Christine Reyes said, "This was the ultimate art workshop. So convenient being able to be at home and have the replays. Stellar lineup of artists." So click the button below the video player right now and choose your ticket, and be sure to check out in the next hour to make sure you get that art marketing bootcamp video. So for those of you who are thinking about, who are thinking right now that you don't have the time, and I want to share with you right now the current motto that I've had, which is, if you don't have time, or if you don't make time, you're never going to have time. This has kind of been a year of growth for me. I work full time. I have 2 young boys, so we're fairly busy over here as a family, and I was worried about spending less time with them while I tried to pursue more time with my art. But my husband said to me one day, "I want you to focus on it so much that it affects our marriage." And obviously he wasn't being serious about that, but it did help me to start setting time aside to paint, and it's just been really great for me to be able to dedicate that time and be more conscious about it. And if you're worried about the cost, I totally get that. We don't want you to spend money that you shouldn't be spending, but if you are serious about your art, you do need to invest in yourself. I personally have a hard time spending money on myself just because I feel like it's being selfish. But like I said, this year has been a year of growth, and I realized that if I wanted to get better, I needed to learn. And in order to do that, I needed to invest in myself, and I needed to get okay with spending a little more money if I wanted to be able to study with the people that have the knowledge and the skills that I want to learn. And then the last thing I want to share is just this opportunity. This event is a really great opportunity for you guys. It's a great way for you to improve quickly. And by that, I don't mean that you're going to become a pro overnight, because that's obviously not going to happen. We all know that it takes time, it takes dedication and practice to get better at things. But as I feel like I'm a beginner, and I feel like I've honestly been a beginner for so long because I didn't want to spend the money on workshops or courses. But this last year, I've spent a lot of time watching some of the demos at our events, and I just soaked up everything that all of the artists had to say. And then I went and actually put all of those things into practice, and I ended up impressing myself with actually how much I had improved and how better I was painting. And who knew that would happen if you actually, practice what you learn, right? So all that to say that if you can afford to spend that money on yourself, I encourage you to get off the fence and do it, because these artists are amazing teachers, and it's such a great opportunity for you to learn from so many people at one time. So thank you for listening to me, allowing me to share that with you guys. We do have some more giveaways that we're still going to do, and one of them is really good. So be sure to stick around to the end for your chance to win those. You do have to be in the chat to win those, but right now we are going to get back to our guests.
Well, hello again, ladies. So all of you are going to be presenting at Realism Live, and I'd love to go around and find out what each of you have planned. So Cindy, what can we expect from your segment at the event?
Starts off with a blank canvas, and then I throw all my colors together, and you will see how I begin a painting, get it to the middle, and then proceed to the end. It's a step where you might enjoy it halfway through. You might think, well, this is the way I want to paint. So I'm giving the artist the chance to see how I start, how I get to the middle, and then how I get to the end. I share my palette. I share my painting, the paints I use. I share some techniques, and I share my brushes that are very unique.
Awesome. Sounds great. Vicki, what have you got planned?
Well, I'm really excited to be watching all you guys, actually, but I'm presenting as well, and I'm going to be painting and teaching how to paint a grisaille, so an underpainting with a black and white painting that goes under the color layer, and that really helps with very pale skin, because you've got the white paint underneath, which helps when the light goes through the color, it hits the white and bounces back, and you can get some really beautiful skin tones by using a grisaille. And I don't think anybody's done that on Realism Live before, so it's something different, but I'm also really looking forward to being a participant and watching these other presenters and seeing what I can learn. That's really exciting.
Well, that sounds great, Vicki. And Wendy, how about you?
I'm going to be presenting a pastel portrait, a head and shoulders portrait of a friend of mine, an African-American young man who has just beautiful skin tones. And I will show my selection of pastels, my full selection of pastels, in addition to the specific colors that I use for David's portrait. I'll start with, actually, I will have prepared a charcoal drawing prior to the demonstration so that you could just see me apply the pastel. And I've encapsulated the demonstration, so I will start to work on a specific passage, and rather than watching me render every segment, which is like watching grass grow, I've been told, I've encapsulated it, so condensed it down into 50 minutes. So you really see the full scope of how I approach a pastel portrait. So that's what I'll be presenting, and I'm very excited to be part of this.
Well, that sounds wonderful. And Victoria, you'll be joining us for Essential Techniques Day. So tell us a little bit about what you've got planned.
I will. First, I want to say how excited I am to learn from all of you. Wendy, I have a huge box of pastels I haven't touched in over 2 decades, and I can't wait to sit in front of the computer with them and learn from Cindy, because the ocean is something I want to learn. And Vicki, I used to paint like that, a grisaille, and then apply color, and I haven't done it in a while. So how exciting this is going to be. I'm going to be teaching or talking about values and how to organize them on the palette. And I'm going to be doing a quick demo. I'm going to use a photo reference to do this and show you how to transfer onto your surface. And an important aspect that I'll be touching on is how to use values to create a strong focal point. Earlier, I talked about arresting the viewer. So we can use values to our advantage to create a very strong focal point, which will lead to a very strong composition and painting. So I can't wait for you to join me.
That sounds fantastic. You know, we used to call it Beginner's Day, and then we changed the name of that to the Essential Techniques Day because we had so many of our attendees and even some of our instructors who would join us for that day, just as a way to kind of get primed for all of the great lessons and presentations to come. So we're thrilled to have you there, Victoria. And I think we're going to check in with Carrie now to see if we have time for any last minute questions that may have come in.
Sorry, I always forget I'm on mute. We do have a few questions. Let me grab those really quick. So one question is, are there any particular skills that an artist would need to explore to become a more professional artist? Is there one technique, or maybe not one technique because all techniques are different, but is there anything in particular that's really vital for an artist to know in order to pursue that professional career? Vicki, go ahead.
Drawing. Keep drawing, get better at drawing. I think that's a really important basic skill that's, you know, it really helps with your painting. So draw every day if you can. I think it's very helpful.
Wonderful, thank you. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Victoria?
Well, I have to reinforce that, Vicki. Yes, drawing, absolutely. Drawing is like, for a realist painter, it's sort of like the foundation of, you know, if you're going to build a building, that's the foundation that will solidify what you do next. It doesn't matter if you want to paint loose or you want to paint tight. If you have a solid drawing, the viewer will see that, will notice that underneath.
And Wendy?
The only thing I wanted to add, certainly I agree with both Victoria and I'm drawing a blank.
Vicki.
Vicky, excuse me, I should have remembered that. Vicky and Victoria, drawing is absolutely essential, but find time to work every single day. Just work, work, work.
That is great. So the next question we have is, with all of you ladies, have you ever experienced a blue period in your journey? Something that really just knocked you down and you just felt like you had a slump for a while? Who wants to take that one? Cindy, go for it.
Okay, I think everybody, writers, you name it, have little mental blocks, or they need to be stimulated, and stimulated is the right word. You know, when I find like, oh my gosh, I'm not an artist, what am I doing, and blah blah blah, I have a little pity party. I get out and see something beautiful. I go to a museum. You know, it's yes, I've had several, and most of them came right, you know, when my career was going great and I had major health issues. So that's when, you know, I had to rethink things. But guess what? It gave me more time at the easel. It gave me more time doing something else. So if you can change the mindset up here when you get there, you know, it's all about changing this. So it's do something different. Go to a museum, you know, go see something beautiful. You know, it's just something that takes you out of your own head. And I think it was Wende that said, or I can't remember, one of you ladies said, I took a pottery class and now I'm doing a sculpting class. I want to sculpt a buffalo. And you know what? It clears my head to go back to the easel. You got to change it up a little bit to get out of those blue periods.
Very true. Victoria?
I like to say that actually not only blue periods, but we probably experience blue moments throughout the day, every day. All we have to do is turn the news on, and we have to stay motivated and we have to be engaged at all the times. I think for me, something that I am incredibly thankful and grateful for is my little community that I have made with some amazing artists, friends that are kind of like my little family. And it's important to have that kind of community, you know, someone you can talk to keep you inspired, to keep you in check, to keep you disciplined. I think that that's something we all have to pursue, to have those kinds of relationships and close people that we can go, especially artists. You know, we feel differently, we react differently to certain things going on. So having my artists, colleagues, and friends have been extremely helpful.
Wonderful. Vicky?
I fully agree with what Victoria just said, and having other artists to talk to in those periods. I mean, for me, it's often, you know, a moment when I'm rejected from a portrait, national portrait show or something, and I don't get selected, and I feel like my painting was, you know, I had big hopes for. And having friends that have been through the same thing, you can talk it over and, you know, and then get back on the horse again, is really good. And I've even got one lovely friend, Jack, who Jackie, her name is, and she's doing really well. And when she gets into something and I haven't gotten into something, she rings me up and says, look, I just wanted to say that, you know, your time will come, your time will come. And it's just so beautiful that she has that, you know, she thinks of me and her amazing successes, that she's, you know, knows how it feels to be the one that's not selected in that thing. So having those friends to back you up in those moments is really great.
It really is. I have a couple of ladies here at Streamline who are always so encouraging of me when I'm feeling down about what I'm currently painting. They're my cheerleaders for sure. So the final question I have is, Vicky, earlier in the broadcast, you had mentioned that you listen to a lot of podcasts. So we had someone ask what podcasts you ladies are listening to.
Ooh. I love Eric's Plein Air podcast.
We did have someone mention that in the chat. It's a good one.
It's very good. I've learned quite a few things that have helped me with my plein air. I listened to the Bold Brush podcast with Laura Arango Bayer, and I studied with Laura, so it's really great to listen to her on her podcast. She's doing really well. And the other one that I really love is The Undraped Artist, which is fantastic. I've forgotten the host's name I'm having a mental blank at the moment. I got up very early for this show. But it's a really good podcast as well. But there's a lot of podcasts out there, but those three are probably the three that I go to most.
Anyone else?
I
No one
believe
else?
Sorry. I believe that deadlines.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Not enough coffee.
We'll forgive you. It's quite early there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for answering those questions for me. I will take off now and leave you with Kelly.
Okay, well, really, I think that is it for us for the panel. But before we get to our final giveaways of the day, I just want to thank these ladies so much for joining us today. You've shared a lot of your time and great advice with us, and I have loved every minute of it. And I've just so enjoyed getting to know you all a little bit more. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at Realism Live. So thank you so much.
It's lovely meeting all of you. And if you're ever in Australia, please come and drop in. I'd love to take you painting, or, we've even got a spare couple of rooms. So you're most welcome to come and stay a couple of nights.
Wonderful.
If ever you make it down.
It's lovely meeting all of you. You're all very impressive women. So yeah. I'm humbled.
Treat. This has been an hour.
Thank you all. And I think we will bring back on now. What else do we have to give away, Carrie?
We have quite a few things to still give away. So first, when I call your name, type "I'm here" in the chat, and we'll put my email up on the screen so that when you hear your name called, send me an email so I can make sure we get you your new gifts. So first up, we have Pat Fiorella's new video called "Vibrant Flowers." And this video is going to go to Michelle Nettleton. Congratulations, Michelle Nettleton, for your Pat Fiorella video. Next, we have CW Mundy's new video, Painting with Freedom. And this is going to go to Eloise Boren. Eloise, type "I'm here" in the chat to get your copy of CW's video. Next, we have Patricia Watwood's video, Creating Portraits from Life. And don't you just love that pink hair? So this video is going to go to Raisa Peters. Raisa Peters, you get Patricia's new video. And we have Mark Shasha's video, Shimmering Light. This is the first one he did with us. And this video is going to go to Ashley Walters. Congratulations, Ashley. And the final video that we have today to give away is our new video, Portrait for Beginners with Eddie Filer Jr. And that video is going to go to Anita Winter. Congratulations, Anita. You will be able to see all of these amazing artists on faculty at Realism Live next month. Make sure you sign up within the next hour to get that art marketing bonus, and sign up by Sunday in order to get those bonus videos from Realism Live 2020. And our final prizes today are 2 replay upgrades for people who just registered for this event. So the first one we have is a premier ticket upgrade. We are taking you from a general ticket to a premier ticket so that you get 60 days of replays for the price of your general ticket, which is going to go to Danielle Fairweather from Medina, Ohio. Yay, Danielle, congratulations. You now have a premier ticket to Realism Live. And our final prize of the day is an upgrade to VIP tickets. So this winner is going to get 365 days of replay access. And the winner is Gloria Alexander of Mesa, Arizona. Congratulations, Gloria. Thank you so much. And I want to bring Kelly back in. I want to congratulate all of our winners today. Thank you so much for watching. I want to thank our panel of wonderful ladies. It was such a great conversation today, so encouraging to hear you guys talk about your stories. And I want to thank Kelly for hosting. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that for us. Don't forget to sign up for Realism Live by the end of the hour so that you can get that art marketing bonus. And thank you all so much for joining us today.
Okay, take care, everybody.
you.